Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Deborah Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also a book proposal strategist and the author of 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting and Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the conversation. And I love today's topic. I probably say that every week. I love the topic, but I do. I mean, why wouldn't I do a show on a topic I don't love? But today we're talking about community and specifically creating community. So I reached out to some amazing community builders and thrilled for this conversation. You might be watching this as Goal Chat Live. You might be watching the replay or listening to us as Goal Chat on the Marketing Podcast Network. But no matter how you found us, we're so glad you're here because community, again, you can't reach your goals on your own. So you've got this community of people. Utilize it, because once someone is in your tribe, you're in their tribe, and so on and so on. And they told two friends. Again, getting a little bit ahead of myself, so what else is new? So I think this is a good time to introduce my guests. So we've got with us Nina Amir, who's got her latest book with Books That Save Lives has just come out. And all of this is the other really cool thing about the conversation is everybody here, they embrace community in different ways, but it's all part of the big community puzzle. So we've got Nina Amir, KeishaMarie Douglas, who I met through the Clubhouse. Remember Clubhouse for Innovation Women years and years ago, I think like early pandemic. Yeah. And then Marc Mawhinney, I have been in his Facebook group for years. And then we were on a summit together in the fall. It was like, oh, there's the people behind this community. So really good times ahead. Warning, good times ahead. I would love for you all to introduce yourself a little bit better. And Nina, let's start with you. Who are you and why is community such an important factor in your life?
So I am Nina Amir. I'm an author and an author coach, and I'm a certified high performance coach and a transformational coach. And as you said, an author. My newest book just came out, and we got to have one nearby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's kind of a role, yes.
That's right. So community for me became important because of authorship. Because the first time, and I'll make this brief, but the first time I ever sent out a book proposal, I got a call from a literary agent, and this was when Author Platform, which I know you've talked about not too long ago, like right before the new year, it was a new term, and they said, you need an author platform. Well, an author platform basically is a community. It's a built-in audience for your book in your target market, and I didn't have that. And so that began my journey towards building community. But I also have two, I guess I would say communities, so two programs. One is the Inspired Creator Community, and the other is the Nonfiction Writers University. And both of those, you're constantly bringing people in and creating a community. It's not just a program. It's about getting people in and having community. So for me, those are the reasons. One is, I'm interested in community, and I'm constantly working on building community online and off because of my being an author and needing people to know who I am so they'll buy my books, and then to bring people into my programs and create communities there.
Excellent. Well, thrilled to have you in the conversation today. KeishaMarie, and again, as I mentioned before, we met through the Innovation Women community, and now you've got communities of your own. So please share who you are and why you are here.
Thank you so much, Deb. And it's been over a year that we've seen each other. So thank you for letting me join the community chat tonight. I absolutely love it. So hello, everyone, all those friends out there that we haven't met yet. I am KeishaMarie Douglas. I am the founder of the Veteran Organization. I am a positive intelligence coach, and I can hold up my invisible book because I have been in the process of working on my book for a while, but it absolutely is coming to fruition. hold me accountable a little bit for it. My community, and the reason why community is so big for me, it kind of almost ties into my story because when I separated from the military back in 2013, I was looking. I moved from Minot, North Dakota, and I came down here to Florida, and I was looking for that community because I longed for that sisterhood and that togetherness. And so I found myself into the world of BNI, which I think that's a very popular term. Like a lot of people know the Business Network and International Network. And I found myself in BNI. And so that kind of helped me build up the networking, the entrepreneurial whole concept of having connections. But I still need that veteran women connection. So I started creating a community for the veteran women, and we are getting together and we are doing things just almost kind of like being tourists here in Tampa, because I'm realizing that community is so important, especially when you are navigating those civilian life streets by yourself and you really don't know how you are navigating them and which way to turn and what's the best thing to do, and are you truly enjoying your journey as a civilian. So, and I love the fact that I'm doing it through BNI as well, because it also helps other entrepreneurs who might be inside of Tampa that might be able to come together and meet other entrepreneurs as well. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of the double dip, if you want to call it that. So I'm enjoying it and I love it, and I don't want to monopolize this whole conversation. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Deb. You know, I've been on here three times. I will talk.
Well, and I'm getting a little feedback. I'm not sure if it's from you, but we'll find out in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so let us swing Marc over into the hot seat. I have no idea why Restream is being so persnickety today, but it stopped persnicketying. Yes, I make up words. Marc, welcome. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I think we booked this months ago, so time flies. But yeah, my business is helping coaches get more clients. So I've been doing that since 2014. I have a podcast called Natural Born Coaches. We're up to almost 1,000 episodes as of today. And my community is called the Coaching Jungle. It's a Facebook group. Thank you, Deborah, for being in the Coaching Jungle. That was launched in the fall of 2015. So we just celebrated 10 years just recently. I'm a huge fan of community, regardless of what your business is, because the metaphor I always use is if you don't have a community and you're just relying on, let's say, your social media news feeds, it's like you're in a little dinghy in the middle of the ocean, a very noisy, rocky ocean, and it's tough to be found with the algorithms and all that stuff. When you have a community, it's like having an island that you're inviting people to. Hopefully it doesn't become like Lord of the Flies if you're running it properly. But you're bringing people to that island where they get to know, like, and trust you. It develops its own culture there. There's different leaders on that island and stuff like that. And that's what I like to think the Coaching Jungle is. We're up to almost just about 30,000 members now, and we're growing daily with it. It's a great group. So huge fan of communities. I'm glad that you're doing this.
And one thing that I want to jump in on, because Nina was talking about this as well, is as an author, you need a community. And so I started Write On Online, which started as in-person, actually back when I lived in Chicago, restarted it when I moved to LA, and it became a hybrid 2008, 2009, then virtual only, and then back and forth. But a lot of that, what KeishaMarie was talking about, double dipping, virtual is great, in person is great, but you kind of need both, because one builds up the other. It used to be you would meet people in person and connect online. Now I think you more connect online first and then you meet in person. Do you all find that? Well, I want to start with Marc on this, because Facebook, and again, Write On Online, it's got something like 10,000 in the page, but the group with 3,000 people, that's the one that actually gets the interaction. So what is it about the virtual settings that lead to in person, or have you found that a challenge?
So I'm on the east coast of Canada. I'm the opposite part of the continent from you, Deborah. And I don't do any business local. Most of my clients are American, to be honest, and my JV partners. A few people locally have come into my world and become clients, or somehow we do business, but it's more by accident. They stumble on the podcast and all that other stuff. So I'm not the best person to talk with about in person, because I do pretty much everything virtual. Now, I will say that I've had the opportunity to speak on some stages like Social Media Marketing World in California pre-COVID, and there is a different energy in person, right? Like, it's great to connect with you guys, but we've got the screen in between us. And when I meet people that I say had on my podcast before at an event, if I'm speaking or attending, if I'm traveling, it's like we've known each other for 20 years. So there is, I know a lot of people are like, oh, with COVID, oh, it's great, we're never gonna have to do meetings again, everything will be virtual, we won't have to travel or whatever. I hope it doesn't go that way, because there is a very special energy in person.
Yes, it is.
And this was actually my first COVID project, because your goal guide came out January 2020, and by March, no one was doing anywhere. And actually, Brenda Knight, who's our publisher, said, "Hey, Deb, do you ever think about doing a live show?" And I had been leading a Twitter chat at the time, and it had been on my radar to do it. So it was a really easy yes. So I love this format because I get to bring people together who wouldn't meet otherwise. Occasionally I will bring a group together and two of the people know each other and I didn't realize it. But I think that's kind of the fun too, is mixing and matching people. But again, there's nothing like, whether it's for an event or an actual just get together, see people in real life, there's nothing like that energy. You are nodding a lot, KeishaMarie. So did you want to add to this whole?
No, I'm just chiming along with it, because I just love the fact of the energy that you have when you meet people in person and the energy that you have when you meet people online. So that's the only reason why I'm just shaking my head, because I feel it. And now, because I'm down here in Tampa, so I'm sorry for everybody who's up north and on the East Coast and dealing with snow. Like right now, the weather is amazing. Like it's 51 degrees here. So everybody is like sending messages and they're like, I would love to meet in person. So that's why I'm just like, yep. Like, this is just so true. Like, you get the benefit of online, but like just that human connection, that energy, like it's just so different when you just meeting people.
Can I thank you for not doing a video call on your patio or on the beach or something like that? Would have just killed me. I would have been like, hey, Deborah, can you kick her out, please? I don't want to see that here. January in Canada is not pretty, but
and then I will not tell you how gorgeous it's been in LA the last week after we were frozen for the first 2 weeks of January.
Well, true story. When I spoke at Social Media Marketing World, it was 2017, I think, and it was unseasonably cold, and it was in San Diego. And so, me being a Canadian, it was February, I believe, and I'm down there. Everybody's all talking about like, oh my gosh, so cold here, whatever. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to buy some shorts and sandals, and I'm like, this is amazing in February. Like, what are you guys talking about? So it's all perception. But if I was in Florida with you, I would be the pasty pale Canadian on the beach when everyone else might think, oh, what's he doing out in the water there? I'm like, oh, this is great. So
can I go back to your thing about COVID and starting?
Yes, please.
And the conversation of live or in person versus
is it live or is it Memorex? Yes.
Yeah, right. So a lot of writers are both introverts and extroverts. Most of them, I think, would say they were introverts. I toggle, and when COVID hit, I was super happy to just stay home. And I used to go to all these in-person events, especially as a high performance coach. We had a very large community and the events were big, and everybody was excited to get together and see each other. And that went away. And I have to say that even though I really like virtual meetings like this, there is nothing like getting together with people. And so I think that since COVID, we have so much less of that, because online summits and meetings have become such a big deal that, are so common, that I think we gravitate towards that. And I have to say that when Brenda Knight started talking to me about going to bookstores and things with my new release, right? She's like, well, we need to get you in some bookstores and some libraries. And I was like, why? Like, I've done most of my promotion has been virtual. I do a virtual book tour, and I'm known for doing that, and it's always worked. And I was like, well, why would I want to go do this in person? And I'm not a novelist, so I'm not going to do a reading. And anyway, so for me, it's been a real shift. And you do need to get out there and connect with people. And there's a local group that they have a text chat, but then they go meet in person and they do things like fill, Christmas stockings for the homeless and things like, they do all these nice things. And it's so funny how I've gotten so used to being home that the idea of going somewhere and meeting up with a bunch of people feels foreign to me. And yet you can't really, I think you can create community online, but a community offline is super important. And, some of the bookstores have said to me, well, how many people can you, gather? And I'm like, well, I've only lived here 4 years and I don't know that many other writers here. So it just goes to say, goes to prove that it is important to be doing both when it comes to community engagement.
And thank you for bringing us back to the topic at hand. And I feel you, but I actually happen to be an extrovert who loves downtime. So I am one of those weird people where I love this just as much as I love going out amongst the people. And I actually have a book signing in Santa Monica on Saturday, something that I lined up several months ago that felt like it was ages away. And then it's like, oh, it's here. So that's the other thing. I think we need to remind ourselves that being out in the world is just as important as being connected in the virtual space. And I will also say that, so Marc, I worked the event, Social Media Marketing World for I think 5 SMMWs, and we did not meet there. We met online like 4 or 5 months ago, and that was through a different mutual friend. So you can actually be in places and then not meet people until you get the online connection. I would love to know, though, what is everyone's definition of community? Because it feels very specific and overarching simultaneously, right? So, Nina, what is your definition of community?
Well, like when I think of my programs, community is having people gather around a topic or interest and support each other. So it's people of like mind coming together in, I think, a supportive manner. And I think that's probably true whether it's online or offline, right? Because even if you're just wanting to get together with a couple friends, you have something in common, right? So it's a commonality within a group of people, or something that brings people together.
Okay, I like that one. Marc, what is your definition of community?
Well, I guess to piggyback on what Nina said, I would probably say it's a gathering of like-minded people. It's interesting. I'm rereading a Napoleon Hill book, and of course, he talks a lot about masterminds, which technically a mastermind could have 2 people, could have 4 people, like here tonight. It could have 30,000 people. I think there's a lot of similarities between community and a mastermind if it's constructed properly. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but good communities take on a life of their own. So if I didn't go into my community today or for the next week, it's like a living organism that's alive while I'm not there. It's not really a community if it's only alive when you're there and posting. I feel like a lot of communities are more vanity projects for the person. Like it's the Joe Smith group or the Mary Jones one or whatever. And that's not, in my opinion, unless you're Oprah, Tony Robbins and stuff, you could do that with name recognition. But I think communities are something different.
I agree. I think that's a really good point, because the goal, to use one of my favorite words, is to bring people together. Even like this, I will see people who've been on a Gold Chat panel, and then I see them interviewing each other on their podcast or doing a summit together. And I take such pride in that, but that's exactly what you're saying. It's bringing people together and letting them kind of run with it, right?
Yeah, it's not like with my community, it's not the Marc show. I feel like too many community owners act like a kid that doesn't want anyone else to play with the toys. Like no other kids can play with those toys. Don't touch them. And for me, there's people in my community that get a lot of business from the community. And I say to them, they're almost sheepish when they admit it. Like, Marc, I got a good, some clients from your group last year, or whatever. I'm like, that's great because you contribute, you give really good advice. You're not spamming the wall every 5 seconds, which we don't allow. And so I want you to be compensated for that. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I can't work with 30,000 people. So I'm glad that good people, like let's say yourself, Deborah, if I know someone has a book question, I have no problem tagging you in because you can answer that question. I'm not a book expert, but you are. So I think that's important, that you have to almost take an abundance approach. The pie's big enough that everyone can get a slice of the pie. Really, really quick story. Years ago, do you guys remember when Facebook had this silly thing where you could just dump people into a group if you're Facebook friends, which drove me nuts. It was my biggest pet peeve. Now you're invited. You have to choose whether to accept the invitation or not. Someone who did what I did, helped coaches, dump me into his group one day. And I'm kind of like, oh, geez. But anyways, it's fine. It wasn't the end of the world. So he did an intro post. Hey, want to welcome Marc into the group or whatever. And I commented and I said something along the lines, hey, thanks for having me here. So-and-so, just let you guys know, I have a podcast called Natural Born Coaches. It helps coaches grow their businesses. I'm glad to be here and hope to learn more about you guys. So I woke up the next day and I had a message from him and he said, Marc, I want to let you know that I kicked you out of my group. He said, it just didn't sit right with me where you mentioned your podcast in that post. It wasn't a spammy comment by any means, and that's fine. But what had happened was he was viewing it as competition, like, oh, geez, Marc's in here now. The fox is in the hen house. He does what I do, and I got to get him out of here. And that was a very, I think, wrong way to look at it. If he had taken the abundance approach, I would have probably had him on my podcast. We could have done joint ventures together, could have done a lot of stuff. Long story short, he disappeared shortly after that. I don't know where he is now, and I suspect it's because the attitude that he took wasn't the right one when it comes to community, and I think he shot himself in the foot.
I completely agree about that, the whole abundance attitude thing, because when you act from scarcity, people can tell, like this person, people can tell, and you don't want to work with people who are that narrow. But when you're out there, okay, let's how do we play together? How do we help each other? What do you need? Then it elevates everybody and they're happy to be there. And again, it's about building community. It's not.
Yeah. So let's put him on blast. I'm going to say his name. No, I'm just joking. I don't even remember his name, but that's the point of the story. He didn't make a huge impact if I don't remember his name. So
yeah.
Very good point. Question is, Marc, how many people did he have in the group when he brought you in and introduced you to everybody?
I honestly don't remember. It wasn't a huge group because it was a fairly new group, so it wasn't like thousands of people or anything, but I really don't remember. If I had to guess, I'd say a couple hundred people were probably in there.
Wow. And like, what are about those people who are like hungry for knowledge and hungry to connect and things like that? Like, it don't sit well with me because it's like you got people together and they're looking for a community, and then boom, he just ups and dissolves.
Well, the thing for me is I'm very where I am a host or owner of a Facebook group. I'm mindful of respecting rules. Like I would never go into a group and spam the wall. Drives me nuts in my group. It's the equivalent of someone going to your home. They don't even ring the doorbell. They open the door. They come in with their dirty boots. They traipse all through your house. They start going through the fridge and everything. So yeah. Anyways, but at the end of the day, I don't get too riled up or whatever. It's just a story that's always kind of stuck in my mind as a bad practice for a community owner. I think you're much better taking the abundant approach, like I mentioned before. Tag other experts in, bring them into the conversation, give them a little bit of the spotlight, and your group will grow and it'll be better that way.
Can I tag on to that?
Of course you can.
So, I have a group I started. I wasn't even thinking about this when I thought about today's show. But my son is a professional dancer, but he started dancing at 3. And I had a blog called My Son Can Dance. I still have it. It's just I haven't added to it in forever. But I realized that mostly the parents needed a community.
Mhm.
And I created a Facebook group called My Son Can Dance. And it has grown so big. And I don't even know how many are in it. I mean, it's not 30,000, but there are thousands of people in there. And I have moderators helping because I don't have the time for it anymore. It's not as much of my focus anymore now that he's grown. And but I just, in terms of it having a life of its own, that group definitely has a life of its own. It has, we created 3 other groups. My Son Can Dance, pre-professional dancers, professional dancers. My Son Can dance teachers, because the parents didn't want the dance teachers in there with them, but some dance teachers have sons who dance. So yeah, it was just very interesting to watch how it just grew. And the other point I wanted to make was that it's so much about service.
Mhm.
So a lot of groups don't want anyone, like coaching groups don't want coaches in there because they don't want you stealing potential clients. So, right, the lack thing again. And yet, if your group is meant to be of service, then the more people who can lend support and offer information, the better. And in this dance group, it's amazing to watch how the parents just contribute so much knowledge, especially the ones like my moderators. Their kids are grown also and professional dancers now, where they weren't when we started, but they're still in there offering information, and the other parents are offering information. And I was in a group for 4 years. I was part of a program run by Jim Fortin, and Jim Fortin had, at the time he had Facebook groups. Now he's moved to an app and it's totally different. But his Facebook groups for his program were so active. Oh my God, they were so active. And the members of the program were helping, and the coaches were in there helping. And then there was an alumni group, and that was super supportive. And so I think that's part of how it becomes, has a life of its own, is by people actually contributing. And that makes more people want to come in. So anyway.
There's a radio host I follow. His name's Michael Smirkanish, and he's in Philadelphia. And he's a political independent, so he's got people all across the board who follow his show. And I listen in fairly often. And just to show the power of community, he set up a Mingle project because he felt like people were too divided in the United States, and you had to get it's easy for people behind a keyboard to say things they wouldn't say to somebody, right, if they're face to face. And so he just started it just to see what would happen. And what's interesting is all these Mingle meetups in not in just large cities, like not just like a Los Angeles, but in Timbuktu, wherever USA, it's got 1,000 people or 500 people in town, and Mingle projects that are meeting up. And that's something that I always found interesting because it took on a life of its own. It's a real grassroots type thing, and it's powered by community. So whether it be business, politics, whatever, I think community is huge.
And just so you're not cold all by yourself, Meryl Cass is watching us live from snowy northern New Jersey. So so you've got a cold soulmate tuning in, and thank you for watching us live today, Meryl. KeishaMarie, we still have not gotten your definition of community.
Yes, thank you. And I will say thank y'all so much for chiming in the conversation. It gave me an opportunity to think about my answer. But honestly, I think I had my answer when you first asked the question, Deb, because I was like, okay, what is like my definition? And I want to say my definition is probably so different from Amir and Marc, because I fully believe that the best way to have community is to bring in my BNI world, I'm going to say like-minded individuals, because we all are in BNI, we're entrepreneurs and things of that nature. But one of the things that I absolutely love to do when it comes down to bringing people together and having community is finding out what it is that they like. What is it that they enjoy doing, especially when it comes down to the veteran women world. And so we all come from different branches of the military, and we all are involved in different veteran women nonprofits. And it's almost kind of like the different things that we're doing, let's bring those differences and bring them all together. And let's find out how we can share and support each other, regardless for whatever it is that we're doing. So that's kind of how I look at community, because we got over 17,000 veteran women here in Tampa alone. And so I'm like, we got over 17,000, and I have a little over 300 in one of my Facebook groups, and my other Facebook group is kind of it needs a little bit of loving, it needs a little bit of growth. So, but the thing is like if we have 300 and we got almost like 400 people in both of these groups, I'm like, we need to get out and find more of these women and have them join the Facebook groups. And it's just like, all right, so how can we connect and bring everyone together? And so that's my definition of it, to kind of like be the different thinker between Amir and Marc.
Between Nina and Marc.
Nina, oh my goodness, Amir, I just be calling you by your last name. I love your last name and I love your sweater. So that's what I've been looking at the whole time.
Well, thank you.
Well, and you're making great points as well. It is the similarities, but also the differences. The similarities bring you together, but the differences enable you to support and uplift one another.
Yeah, because what I really love is when we have our meetups and we all come together and let's say we're having brunch or something like that, we're all having conversations, and then we'll realize that there's a resources, there's some knowledge, or there's a new thing for the veterans that a lot of us don't even know about, and somebody will be able to share it. And so that's what I love. It's like we come together and looking at lack, like the guy who picked Marc out of the group, like we are looking at, okay, how can we get in here and share things with each other and kind of help each other? So that's what I look at it as. So,
Deborah, could I mention something about which I think is important with community? Sometimes people hear things and, oh, okay, I need to build a community to tens of thousands of people. You can have a very vibrant, thriving community with significantly less. So one of my coaching friends has a Facebook group she's extremely tight on who she lets in, and she calls it, and it's very specific. 300 people in her group, but it's also brings in 6 figures of revenue for her every year because it's super highly engaged. They have a rule in her community that you have to engage in the group at least once a month or they boot you out. And engage isn't just to click the like button or whatever. You have to either put a post up or a thoughtful comment. It can't be agreed or 100% true or something like that. And her engagement's so great and the loyalty is there that she told me that one of her Facebook group members was going in for a big surgery. And she messaged her and she said, I'm going in for surgery. I'm going to be like knocked out. I'm going to be offline for a while. Can you please not remove me from the community? So she was so concerned about being kicked out of the group despite going through this big surgery that she actually messaged her, please don't kick me out. This is why I'm not engaged. So I would focus, ideally you would have quantity as well, because if you have a community with 15 people, it's going to be tough to really make an impact. But I would prioritize quality over quantity. Perfect world, you would have both, but I would focus on quality as opposed to quantity.
Okay, and you started answering the next question before I had a chance to ask it. No, apparently. Well, yeah, it's also not difficult to ask that to figure out what we were going to go there, but there's one thing is creating community, and then the other is creating communities. So for me, creating community is, being the center of, right? So I've got 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. I interviewed 60 people in business, tech, entrepreneurship, food, and creative fields. And from that, I would be asking the people I interviewed, okay, who else do you know who needs? So there's one thing when you've got your community, your people that you can reach out to. And then it's another thing to create communities like with Marc's groups, with Nina's groups, with, I don't know if you've got a virtual component, KeishaMarie, for your group, but also, and like right on online. But so the difference being like a community center for your people, which I believe each of you has some sort of element of that, but actually creating communities. So what do you believe? Let's stick with the personal first. What do you believe as humans are your best assets for creating community within your world? And then we could talk about the steps for actually launching communities. And we got an inquisitive look on KeishaMarie's face. So we'll start with Nina on this. What are some of the things that you do to create community in your world? And you even mentioned one, with your book release, you're doing this virtual tour, reaching out to all of your people. But what is that and other things that you do to create community as an individual?
As an individual. So outside of business and all of that. Is that
Well,
correct?
as an individual, it can be business, it can be personal. I'm just saying, as being a community member, someone who gets the value of community.
Okay. So I don't know if this will answer your question, but I'm
We'll
just
find
gonna
out.
I'm just gonna go with what's popping into my head. So first, I would say, you know, there's the actual, like, my neighborhood is a community.
Mm-hmm.
And so being a good neighbor, being, you know, inviting people over, you know, being generous and giving time, and being interested and you know, interested in what's going on with them, right? So that's on a very, very small level, maybe, right? But those are the
Yes.
things I can do. I can be a good friend. I can be a good neighbor. I can reach out to people. I can connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
On a bigger scale, yeah, the virtual book tour, since you mentioned it, a lot of that was me reaching out to people like you who I know through the Women's National Book Association, through the San Francisco Writers Conference, people who have hosted me previously, people when I was on Twitter or X more, you know, that I had long-term relationships with, and asking for help, right? Asking for support. So that's an aspect of community. That's my writers community, right? But I think what I also do individually is, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is service. I think I do a lot of, I give a lot. I write blog posts and I share them. I show up in my communities, you know, the communities I have, and I offer support. Sometimes I'm getting paid for that. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes it's different. And actually for my Inspired Creator Community members, they all get free sessions with me that are bonuses. So I'm trying to always be giving and supporting in whatever way I can. And even on social media, I don't ever post, I should say, I rarely post anything that isn't a contribution of some sort of contribution or support or being of service. And I think that is my way of building community, because I attract people who are interested in the kind of support that I'm offering, right? Or interested in go back to the topics. They're interested in personal and spiritual growth, or they're interested in writing nonfiction or publishing. And so the more I give and support in those areas, the more people gather around me. And interestingly, and I'll just add this really fast, interestingly, on Instagram, there was a point where, well, early on, I was sharing everything I did, right? So, because I do a lot of different things. And then I had a social media person say, no. If you want to build your personal and spiritual growth side, you know, side of the business, just put that on Instagram. And so I did for a long time. And then when the new book was coming out, I was like, well, this doesn't really work now, because how do I promote my book on Instagram if nobody knows me there as an author and a writer and an author coach? And so I've had to try to reintegrate that, because it's all of who I am. So that would be my last point, is I build community by being totally authentic and showing up as all of me. Because I have noticed on Instagram, I've gained some followers pretty quickly now that I'm also talking about books.
And I may have asked the question funny, but you answered it perfectly.
Oh, awesome.
Because being a community, and I was also reminded when you were speaking, is before we ever met, I knew who you were, because you wrote a book on how to blog a book in the mid-ohs, right?
Yeah.
And so again, it's another case of you did your thing and you put advice out there into the universe, and from that it elevates who you are and your ability to bring people together.
Right. And if you go back to the virtual book tour, people will say to me, somebody said it to me just the other day, but in the past I've also heard it. They'll be like, you're everywhere. Like, I see you everywhere right now. Mm-hmm. And that is a way of building community. When you have to be visible. If you're not visible to people, how will you attract them into your world? You have to be visible. And as an author, or even as an online entrepreneur or a coach, I have to be visible. I have to be out there. And people don't want to do social media. You know, a lot of people don't want to do social media. And yet you can reach people all over the world and let them know who you are and become visible in their world so they join your world.
Exactly. So, KeishaMarie, what about you? How do you define being, developing community on that personal level?
I want to piggyback on everything that Nina said. However, because I mean, she laid it out just beautifully. But as I was listening to what she was saying, I mean, because it really does boil down to the value that you're providing for others and what the resources. Like I was listening to her and I was like, man, it takes me back because when I was active duty, people used to always come to me, and I love sharing this story. Like I used to be a dental assistant, and so people would always come to me and they'll be like, Sergeant Douglas, where can I find this? Like I was always like the resource girl. Like I always knew the phone numbers. I knew how to find dental rec. Like I knew where to go, how to find, like, and I would always just have it for people. And so that's kind of like where I feel like my calling is. Like, where can I be? Where can I provide? Like, how can I provide resources for people and help them out? And so as I'm listening to Nina, she took me back to the quote that was on the Insight Timer app for today. And I'll read it quickly before Marc gets to share. And it says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are we doing for others? And that is by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So it's like Nina like nailed it on the head. And then this quote came in and I was just like, that's perfect. So I'm done sharing because Marc, it's your turn.
It's Martin Luther King Day too, so good timing. Yeah. Sorry, can you clarify the question, Deborah?
No. Yes, of course I can. No, I was talking about developing community as an individual, and then we'll talk about actually creating communities. And you have touched on this already, but what are some of the things that you do to create community as who you are?
So you guys have touched on, I think authenticity is important. If you're putting out a fake front, people are going to feel that. I do feel that people are too concerned about losing people. So I've put some harder hitting stuff in my community that some might consider controversial. And if someone leaves, that's totally fine. I'm not going to change. If I believe in something, I'll put it out there. And, what's that meme where it makes fun of people who announce whenever they're leaving a Facebook group. It says, you're not in an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. So how many times do you see someone like, I'm done with this group. It's blah, 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 blah. But then they stick around to wait and see what people are saying afterwards. It's like, oh, come on. So I posted a meme in the group years ago that really was not controversial. I could do much better if I was trying to piss people off. And I had maybe, 10 people in the group like, oh, Jesus, this isn't right. Like I'm leaving or whatever. But they try to guilt you. And my group's awesome, by the way. There's very few, for lack of a better term, Karens that would get offended with stuff. But, I can't believe
Thankfully, there's no one named Karen on the call today.
Yeah, actually, one of my best JV partners is named Karen, and she's a sweetheart. So I feel bad that Karen's gotten a bad rap, the name. Yeah. But they I can't believe you post this, and I can't stay here, whatever. And I'm like, hey, look, if you're not cool with this, totally fine. You can leave, but I'm not going to be deleting this. The other things that are important, I think patience is big. A lot of people start a community and they expect it to just right out of the gate, gets tons of people rushing in. And that's kind of like planting a seed and then watering it once. And then you expect something to sprout out of the ground. It's not going to happen right away. So patience is good. Discipline to show up every day. If you're not active in your community, why should anyone else be active in it? So I haven't missed a day. No, I'm admittedly a workaholic, which I'm working on, ironically, but I haven't missed a day since I opened my group in 2015. I've shown up every day and contributed there. So sometimes people don't even look at their community for long stretch of time, and then they're wondering why there's tumbleweeds blowing through the street. So, I mean, those are a few I would consider assets or traits that I think are important for community leaders.
Okay, so posting things that are going to inspire conversation, right? Whether they
Well, the coaching world in particular, it can be quite boring because everybody's got this mask up and they're all talking the same and they don't ever poke the bear. I'm not suggesting that you're going out there specifically trying to throw rage bait out there, but sometimes, if you believe in something, you have to be willing to put it out there. There's a quote from Raymond Hall. I'm going to probably butcher it, but I think it's, "He who trims himself to suit others will soon whittle away." And that's what I see in the coaching world. A lot of people are in that kind of mushy middle, I call it, where it's very blah and boring, as opposed to stepping out from that. What you have to remember, well, Facebook groups, there's hundreds of millions of Facebook groups. Now, a lot of them are inactive, but you have to ask yourself, am I giving people reason to visit my group every day, or is this just blah like all the other Facebook groups out there? And so there has to be some entertainment. I like the term edutainment. So you're educating, but you're also entertaining as well in there. I think regardless of what business you're in, if you're not entertaining people, it's going to be tough to keep their attention.
Yeah.
Okay, now I think you answered the second question before the first question, which I'm totally fine with, in terms of engaging your community. But I think you answered the first part of it earlier. You create community by being a resource for others.
Yeah.
So as an individual, is there anything else as an individual that you think you do personally that makes people, I don't want to say give the warm fuzzies, even though that is something very on brand for me, but what are some of the other things that you do in the way that you show up, that you create beyond your group, how you get people really excited about connecting?
Well, I like to inject humor into things. So even my other profiles, like personal Facebook and stuff, I'm sharing, memes I find funny and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of coaches I find are coming from corporate world, and they're used to really monitoring their words and everything because they don't want to get a call from HR. So I like, kind of having some fun with what I'm doing. Anyone that goes to Coaching Jungle will see the banner's got a Tarzan AI Marc swinging on a vine, which is much easier than going to the gym. I wish I had the 6-pack abs that Tarzan Marc has and stuff like that. Full disclosure, I don't look like that in real life, but they could tell that's something different. It's not your standard Facebook group. We have theme days that are got jungle theme, and it's kind of like the way that, and this, I know, is getting away from your question, but I think it's important to give this goes to culture and the vibe of your group. I've always felt that the coaching world, it is like going through the jungle. It's not easy to build a successful coaching business. You're hacking and slashing, you're going to get lost, you're going to get bit by a bunch of things, you're going to have sleepless nights. Well, that's how that group is. It's, hey, the coaching world's a jungle, we're going to help you through it there. So yeah, I try to mix in a lot of those things when we're growing our group.
Well, and I feel also, when it goes back to the know thyself thing, which I'm sure I say ad nauseum on some of these conversations, but when you know who you are, then you could put your best face into the world, but you're also in a better position to help other people because you know who you are, what you offer, and you've got a sense of who and how you can connect. Okay, if you're listening, everybody's nodding. I'm totally right. Okay, what other recommendations do you all have for creating community within communities? So I like the add humor, be yourself, show up, I think is huge, and people forget that you kind of need to. What else, KeishaMarie, do you think is important for showing up in creating community within your community you created? Yes, I love it when I use words in the definition. Could be
yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was muting myself because I was like, oh, I hear background. So I thought it was me that was with the background noise. Like I have to agree, like what Marc said. I also like to and we did this a lot during the pandemic where you had like the engagement posts. And so I was that girl that would see engagement posts on somebody else's group, and I'd screenshot it and I'll save it and I'll utilize it in my own group. And so instead of me now actually taking the actual post and resharing it, then I would just take the language or the words off of it and then just post it. And then that's one of the things that I would do just so that I can get engagement going. I will say I kind of like the theme day, the theme that day as well. Still can't say the words. So I do like the theme days because like it kind of like sets you up for how like, okay, what is it that you're working on this week? One thing that I actually started I think it was like at the end of December, when we talk about being authentic and things like that, when it comes down to my military background, like I know I feel like I'm just throwing it around all the time. We always focus on the whole person concept. And so kind of like how I'm looking is the things that we're doing, like, is this going to make me a good person or make me feel like a good human all the way around? So is my health in check? Is my values in check? Is my like, are my finances right? Is that whole total package, like, is that the thing that's going to help me feel like I'm doing right? And if I'm doing right, then I know I can go and I can share and give more good things out to the world. That's the words that I'm trying to get out. And so that's kind of like the things that we're focusing on. So like right now we're focusing on your health because, you know, it's January and everybody and their mama trying to lose weight. So it's like, okay, so the month of January, we're focusing on our health. So whatever it is that your health goals are, like, you focus on them. And so let's hold each other accountable while we are working on our health goals. And so like, that is what the theme is for the month of January. So that's kind of how I feel like I'm building a community within the community. And so like, I do have some lurkers, but I think within any Facebook group, you're going to have lurkers. And so, and it's just like, well, it is what it is. And so, and I really hope that the people who are in the groups, I hope that they're enjoying it. And I'm hoping that they're hitting their fitness goals for this month. So that's how I can build communities within communities. So,
okay. Love that. And I need to do another shout out to Merrill because he is sharing this conversation and bringing more people into the live watching. So thank you for that, Merrill. And hello to Leanna and also Annie for joining us and being part of this community conversation on community.
So Meryl, we need to have a one-to-one offline. You can come down here to Florida and have a one-to-one with me.
And get away from that snowy cold.
Get out of the snow. Come to Florida and have a one-to-one with me.
Nina, any additional thoughts on ways to create community within your community?
So I have to admit that I've sometimes struggled with that. But what I saw working in other communities was, you know, as long as one person was willing to open up and be vulnerable, and a second person chimed in, then it was like a roller coaster. And so I've tried to recreate that in my own communities where, you know, ask questions, you know, find out, you know, share something that's going on with me. You know, have you ever had the same issue? And so it's a matter of starting conversations. Mm-hmm. And if you have a lot of lurkers, then your conversations may fall short. It might be, there might not be anyone conversing with you, but the only thing you can do is keep trying. And that's what I've done, is just keep trying, keep asking questions. I don't, you know, I'm a real positive thinker, so I hate to ever say anything's hard, but even when I've run, so I have a Facebook group, and when I run like a live challenge or something, I'll do it in that group. And even then I find, you know, I'll ask questions afterwards, and it can be difficult, but you just have to keep at it. You have to keep asking the questions, sharing of yourself, offering support, and offering your knowledge. And eventually people are gonna start chiming in. And sometimes it does take having more people. You know, I hear what Marc's saying about, you know, you don't have to have thousands of people, but sometimes when you only have 10 or 20 or 50, people are worried about actually speaking up. And so you just have to keep at it and keep adding people to your group and encouraging them.
And can I chime in? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say that one thing that I have found, so right online, I do a different post. So it's Monday is networking goals, Tuesday is goals, Thursdays toot your horn, Fridays photo Friday, and weekend plans. And this is, I've been doing the what are your goals and how did you do from before, when it was a page, before it became a group. And I always found that a lot of people will either talk about what their goals are, or they will report on their goals, but rarely will they do both. And going back to what you were saying, Nina, and Mark knows I have this frustration because some weeks I've got a ton of engagements and some weeks I have nothing. But I, for one, love the fact that people who want to share their goals or they want to report on them, they know that whenever they're in that mode, that it is like a home base for them that is always there. So I think that's another thing to remember. It might not always be as active as you would like, but the people who are part of your community know that you are there when they are ready.
So, and I think that's key, and Mark talked about it, that I think my issue has been, and I'm just being honest here, is that I'm not there all the time. So I have a lot going on. And so, you know, Mark's building community because he's in there every day. So he probably, even when you had one person, Mark, right, you were still in there every day doing something, and it grew. And I think that is really key, because like my son can dance groups, they got so active, right, that I needed moderators because I couldn't be there all the time. And so I think that's something for everybody to think about. If you're going to try to build community, how are you going to be sure you're there all the time? And how are you going to, you know, make sure that there's a, you know, that you're creating engagement? I saw something really cool. I joined a community about building communities, but like programs, like online programs, because I'm relaunching my Nonfiction Writers University, and I want to create more of a community effect. And I went and purchased it's a plugin. I use WordPress. And so I purchased a community plugin, because what this community on community building had was there was a leaderboard. And so like I was number 3 on the leaderboard from the time I started. Like because I was asking questions and I was doing the homework and I was sharing my homework and all the stuff they told me to do. And then I got busy with other things. And so now I've dropped off the leaderboard. But that, just as a way to build community, when people see that their engagement is getting them somewhere, getting you on the leaderboard, and being on the leaderboard got me a free coaching session. And right. So that, I'm just throwing that out there as another way to build community within your community.
Gamifying, absolutely. Okay, KeishaMarie, did you have something to add?
I'll be really quick because I know we're getting short on time. I just wanted to piggyback on was sharing about runnages, and I know almost about a year ago I did an emotional intelligence challenge. It was like a 5-day challenge that I did in the community, and when you talk about getting engagement up and getting people participating and things like that, just a 5-day emotional intelligence challenge. It really was a thing, because I showed up every day live, did a quick video, did like a little homework, just something for them to reflect on. And so that was another thing as well. So I just wanted to piggyback on that, what Nina shared. So.
Okay, Mark, anything else to add to this before we go on to goals?
I'll be really quick. I know we're almost out of time. In the summer of 24, I launched a VIP perk for the Coaching Jungle. So it's called the Coaching Jungle VIP. And basically, for not a lot of money, people can become a VIP. That allows them to post their offers, calls to action on the group wall, which we don't allow others to do. Allows them to create events in the group. We've got a private Facebook group for the VIPs. We've got almost 100 VIPs. They can network with each other. We do a couple Zoom meetings every month. $97 a month, $9.97 lifetime. So it's not a lot of money. And that's been going really well. So you could look at monetizing your community that way, where you have a VIP or whatever you want to call it, where you could give them some special perks. And I've been really happy that I launched that. So it's almost like a, Russian nesting doll, where you got the little dolls within the dolls or whatever. But yeah, consider, is there a way that you could do a similar perk for your community? And it's great for monetization as well.
Love that. Yeah, we've talked about that as well offline, which is great. But you have a very strong, healthy, active community that I think is only made stronger by the way that you've incentivized getting engagement. So it's, I think, to put it in the goal framework, you need to start with what is the purpose of the group? What do you want to get out of it? But also, what do you want your community members to benefit from it is the essence of community. And as I also talk about connections and connectors and connections. So we all know the people we know, but it's the one who are the connectors, like each of us. If someone says to any of us, do you know someone who does that? Chances are we either know someone who knows that, who does that, or we have enough connections that we could reach out to our other connectors and find out. So I think the whole value add, create community, create the space so people know that you are a reliable resource is the way that we tie a pretty little bow on those creating community conversation. We do need, I know we're running long, but we do need to give some goals. So what is something someone could do today, tomorrow, immediately to create more community? Marc, do you want to start us out with what goal you want to gift?
Yeah, so I find most community leaders or owners don't talk about their community enough. And I always say you have to be like the parents of a newborn baby. They can't shut up about the baby. Oh, it's so cute. They burped today and, all this that we may not find interesting. But so I have had clients before that will post just once about the community, and then they wonder why they haven't got a lot of people over there. So when I started the Coaching Jungle, and even up till now, which over a decade later, I'm constantly talking it up. If I go on a podcast, I am talk about the Coaching Jungle. Wherever I'm at, it's the Coaching Jungle. And what I would encourage people to do is talk up your community. Make sure you're as often as possible. Maybe it's weekly posts, every podcast. And I'll give a really quick tip, which has helped my community, is to buy the URL, the domain for the name. So for example, Facebook, when you start it, it gives you an ugly ass, like facebook.com/group/blah, blah, 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 blah. No way you can spit that out in an interview. I bought the coachingjungle.com, and then that forwards over to the ugly link, but they can find your group. And you probably noticed I was being sneaky. I just snuck in a couple plugs for my group. So I'm putting it in action. I'm practicing what I preach. But find a really good name for your group, a short URL, and then forward it to wherever your group is, if it's Facebook, school, etc. And that makes it much easier when you're talking it up.
I love it.
Great tip. And I am also going to give you an opportunity to tell people where they can find you so you can plug your group again.
Yeah, there we go. Coachingjungle.com. But they can also find me at naturalborncoaches.com. That's where we've got tons of podcast episodes and everything there. That's a central hub. So not to be confused with Natural Born Killers, it's naturalborncoaches.com.
There you go. Okay, Nina, what goal are you gifting?
I would gift our listeners the goal of doing something to build community that they will enjoy and that they can follow through on. Because I think what happens too often is that we know we should build community for whatever it is we're creating, and we know we should do 10 different things, and we try them all, and then we stop most of them. So I would say, think about what you really will enjoy doing. Like, do you like going live? I was just interviewed by somebody. He goes live on Facebook every single day. He never misses a day, and so, and so it's something like that. I go live, I go out and I'm walking the dog, and I go live on Instagram, and it becomes a reel. It's so, I like doing that. I don't mind talking to people, and so it's easy for me to share that way. So pick something that is sustainable for you and that you're going to enjoy. That would be my gifted goal.
Oh, you mean like doing a live show every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube? Like,
there you go. And like writing a blog post every week, and publishing it. Yeah, been there, done that, still doing it. So, yep. Commit
Excellent.
to it.
These are some good
Okay.
answers.
And where can, since Marc took us a little out of order, where can people learn more about you?
They can learn more about me at ninaamir.com, NINAAMIR.com. You can find everything I do there. So there are tabs for writing and publishing. There are tabs for personal and spiritual growth. There are tabs for all my programs. There are tabs for my books. And I'll give a plug since Marc plugged, I'll give a plug for my new book, Change the World One Book at a Time, from Books That Save Lives. Right now, if you go to ninaamir.com/change the world, you can, if you order the book, and there are order links there, you can also get a free course, a full course on writing for change, and a beautiful journal on clarifying your purpose.
Ooh,
Nice.
I like that.
Okay, KeishaMarie, what goal are you gifting?
What goal am I gifting? So this is for people who are creating a community or who wants to be involved in a community.
Either or, dealer's choice.
Yeah, because I'm like, all right, so like you kind of like touched on it a second ago, but I'm like, okay, so if someone just wants to be involved in a community, that's where I started to think, because I'm like, all right, if I don't want to start my own community and I just want to be a part of one, I would recommend that someone hop online, preferably Facebook or preferably any other meetup organization. There are communities, and try to find a community through that way. And if that doesn't work, my other gift is to chat with a friend. I hear background noises again, so I don't know if it's me or not. But my other recommendation is chat with a friend and piggyback with a friend. I mean, the reason why my organization is called Veteran Wing Women is because, hey, you need a wing woman. So sometimes you might have an introvert that might not want to go to a networking event. Then you piggyback and you partner up with your extroverted friend like myself, and we will tag along and we will go to this networking event, or we will go to this meetup. And so, the extroverted friend does not have any enemies and everybody is their friend. So next thing you know, like, you will be at this event and you will be there, and your extroverted friend will do all the talking, and then you can just go along with them, and hey, you got to experience it. So that's what I'm thinking. So that's what I'm sharing.
And where can people learn more about you and your community?
Best place to learn more about me is KeishaMarieOnline.com. Or if you feel bold, KeishaMarie Douglas, and you can pull up my LinkedIn and learn more about me there. I love the fact that you can just type in KeishaMarie Douglas and like all my everything just shows up. So my Facebook shows up, my Instagram shows up, like all of the uniqueness of my world just shows up. So KeishaMarie Douglas, KeishaMarie Online is probably the best one. So
excellent. And I am at the Deb Method everywhere. If you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will get the recap and the replays to all of my previous goal chats. If you need a little extra inspiration toward your goals, you can pick up a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. How to stay focused, grow your network, and get more done in less time. And if you need like I said, any other inspiration, I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific. You can also subscribe to Goal Chat and also the Book Proposal Podcast and Taste Buds with Deb at your favorite podcast platform. But really, it's all about showing up for yourself, for your goals, for your community. And that's where and how everything grows. So, and the Write On Online community as well. Boy, I've got a lot of links. They need to be, but they're all pretty, are they not, Marc?
Yeah, good job.
Okay, excellent. Friends, what final thought would you like to leave people with today? KeishaMarie, final thought?
Final thought?
Yeah, final thought.
What do you want
to leave people with?
Yeah, the word authentic, just you know what? I'm going to leave them with a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. You gain strength and courage and confidence by doing a thing that you think you cannot do. So that's my final thought. My final quote by Eleanor Roosevelt.
Okay, I modified it to make it easier for me to type into my notes. Nina,
okay.
Final thought.
So after listening to you, my final thought would be to be easily found. So I didn't share that on, that you can always find me by Nina Amir on social media. You can find me by Inspiration to Creation Coach. Those are the two things, right? So I would say don't negate social media when you want to create community, because it's a great place to create community all around the world, but be easily found. If somebody searches for me by my name, they're going to find me, even if they'll probably even find Inspiration to Creation Coach. So be easily found and don't negate the power of social media.
Okay. And Mark, you get the final thought.
This probably ties into KeishaMarie's quote. A lot of people think you have to be motivated first and then you take action, but in reality, it's by taking action that you become motivated. So once you can get rolling with something, whether it be, I don't know, bookkeeping, in this case, creating community, but that action will grow the motivation. So it's actually the flip, the reverse of what we think with it. So just start taking action today. It could be small action, doesn't have to be anything crazy, and then that should build the motivation.
I love it. And that's something I find, especially with my nonfiction book clients where we're working on their proposals. I say you are the king or the queen of your topic, so love your topic, and that will help motivate you, keep you enthusiastic and excited in moving forward, whether it's your project, your goals, your community. Thank you again so much, Nina Amir, KeishaMarie Douglas, and Marc Mawhinney. Thank you for tuning in, for thinking of the community goals or the goals for community that are going to help you build your business, your thought leadership, the mark that you want to make onto the world. Set some community goals. Go out there, go for it, because we know you can do it.
Yay!
Yay.